The walk that never ended. The disappearance of Jason Jolkowski. It was a Wednesday morning in June. The sun was already climbing over the rooftops of a quiet Omaha neighborhood. A 19-year-old kid laced up his shoes, called out to his brother, and headed out the front door. He had 8 blocks to walk, half a mile, a 10-minute trip on a route he'd walked dozens of times before. He never made it. And no one, not his family, not the FBI, not anyone, has seen Jason Jolkowski since. Jason Anthony Jolkowski was born on June 24, 1981, in Grand Island, Nebraska. By the summer of 2001, he was 19 years old and living with his family in the Benson neighborhood on the north side of Omaha, a modest, working-class part of the city, lined with ranch houses and tree-shaded streets. By most accounts, Jason was a pretty ordinary young man, in the best possible way. His mom described him as quiet and shy, with a small circle of close friends. He wasn't a troublemaker. He didn't have enemies. He was the kind of guy who flew under the radar. He was studying radio broadcasting at Iowa Western Community College over in Council Bluffs, Iowa. He had a dream of becoming a radio DJ. Specifically, he had his eye on working at a local station called KIWR. In the meantime, he was working part-time at a Fazoli's restaurant, the Italian-American fast food chain, a few miles across town. Nothing about Jason's life suggested anything was wrong. He was young, figuring it out, taking it one day at a time. Just a regular guy trying to build something. That makes what happened next all the more confusing. It's Wednesday, June 13, 2001. Jason gets called into work a little earlier than expected. No big deal, except his car is in the shop. He initially figures he'll just walk to work, but there's a problem. Fazoli's is over 4 miles away. That's a long walk in dress clothes on a summer morning, so he calls up a coworker and asks for a ride. She agrees. But here's the thing. Jason has a little trouble giving directions to his house, so they come up with a simpler plan. He'll walk to Benson High School, his old school, which is just 8 blocks from his house. His coworker knows exactly where that is. Easy. Before he heads out, Jason gets dressed. He puts on a white Chicago Cubs t-shirt, possibly one featuring Sammy Sosa, who was a huge deal in 2001, black dress pants, black dress shoes, and a blue Cubs cap. He tucks his red Fazoli's work shirt under his arm to change into later. At 10:45 in the morning, a neighbor spots Jason outside, helping his younger brother Michael drag the trash cans back from the curb to the house. That small, mundane moment, hauling trash cans, is the last confirmed sighting of Jason Jolkowski by anyone. He set off down the street, 8 blocks, half a mile. Less than an hour later, between 11:15 and 11:30 a.m., his coworker arrived at Benson High School. Jason wasn't there. She waited. Nothing. So she called his house. No one knew where he was. Here's where things start to go wrong. Not just with Jason's disappearance, but with the response to it. At the time, there was an informal rule that police often followed. Wait 24 hours before filing a missing persons report, under the assumption that adults who disappear usually turn up on their own. So Jason's family waited. Then they reported him missing. And then, incredibly, police didn't open a formal investigation for 10 days after he vanished. 10 days. In a missing persons case involving a 19-year-old who walked out the door and didn't come back. Most investigators will tell you that the first 24 to 48 hours are the most critical window in a disappearance. 10 days later, any physical evidence on that route, footprints, tire tracks, witnesses' fresh memories, would be long gone. When detectives finally did dig in, they started checking the obvious leads. They interviewed Jason's coworker, the woman who was supposed to give him a ride. She was quickly cleared. She had no involvement. Then, investigators pulled the security camera footage from Benson High School. The cameras covered the campus well, and when they reviewed the tape from that morning, Jason was nowhere on it. He never made it to the school. Whatever happened to him, it happened somewhere in those 8 blocks between his front door and Benson High, in broad daylight. on a residential street, probably between 10:45 and 11:15 in the morning. The detective assigned to the case would later say it was, quote, the most baffling case he had seen in 30 years on the job. There were no witnesses, no signs of a struggle, no blood, no belongings left behind, no skid marks, nothing. It was as if the sidewalk had simply swallowed him. Following his disappearance, there was zero activity on Jason's bank account or cell phone, both of which stayed completely silent. He took no extra money with him, no change of clothes, none of his personal belongings. Everything pointed away from a voluntary disappearance. The case went cold. So what actually happened? Let's talk about the theories. Did Jason run away? This is almost certainly not what happened. The evidence just doesn't support it. He didn't take any money beyond what was in his pocket, probably no more than $60. He didn't pack a bag. He didn't say goodbye to anyone. He didn't close out his bank account or make any unusual calls. His plans for the day were completely ordinary. People who plan to disappear don't typically spend their last morning helping a sibling with chores. Did he have an accident? Possible in theory, but there's no evidence for it. No body has ever been found. No hospital admitted him. No car accident was reported on that route that morning. Was he a victim of foul play? This is what Jason's family believes, and honestly, it's the theory that fits the evidence best, or rather, the lack of evidence. The most likely scenario is that at some point during that short walk, someone approached Jason. Maybe they offered him a ride. Maybe they called out to him. Maybe they knew him or pretended to. And somehow, Jason ended up in a vehicle. Whether he went willingly, perhaps tricked, or was forced, we don't know. But the complete absence of any trace of him after that moment, combined with the dead silence on his phone and bank account for over 2 decades, points towards something very dark. The Omaha Police Department has kept the case officially open and active, but in practical terms, it's been a cold case for years. No suspects have ever been publicly named. No arrests have ever been made. For Jason's parents, Jim and Kelly, the nightmare of losing a child without answers could have broken them. Instead, it galvanized them. In the aftermath of Jason's disappearance, Jim and Kelly founded Project Jason, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping the families of missing persons navigate one of the most painful and bureaucratically frustrating experiences imaginable. The organization provides resources, emotional support, and advocacy for families who too often find themselves lost in a system that wasn't built for them. They also took their fight to the Nebraska state government. In 2005, 4 years after Jason vanished, the Nebraska legislature passed Jason's Law, a bill that created a statewide database for tracking and reporting missing persons. Before this legislation, Nebraska had no centralized system for this. Cases could fall through the cracks between jurisdictions, agencies, and databases. Jason's Law was designed to close those gaps. Kelly Jolkowski's work didn't go unnoticed. In 2010, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder presented her with the Tan Volunteer for Victims Award. In 2014, she received the Nebraska Governor's Points of Light Award. Out of the worst possible tragedy, Jason's parents built something that has genuinely helped other families. That's a legacy worth knowing about. In 2021, on the 20th anniversary of Jason's disappearance, the family gathered with friends at a local park to remember him. He would have been 39 years old that year. As of today, Jason Jolkowski has been missing for over 24 years. His case remains listed with the FBI. It's one of the cases in NAMUS, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, and it still carries an active status with the Omaha Police Department. He would be 44 years old now. What makes Jason's case stick with people, what makes it genuinely unsettling, is how ordinary everything about that morning was. He wasn't in a dangerous situation. He wasn't doing anything risky. He was a 19-year-old kid walking 8 blocks on a summer morning in his own neighborhood. And then he was gone. If you have any information about Jason Jolkowski's disappearance, please contact the Omaha Police Department or submit a tip to the FBI at tips.fbi.gov. His case number with NAMUS is MP73. If you want to learn more about Project Jason and the work his family has done, I'll leave a link in the description. And if you're watching this and you've lost someone, if you're a family waiting for answers, know that there are people and organizations out there fighting for you. Don't give up.